Hello friends and fellow bibliophiles, welcome back to Cat's Novel Adventures. I have not done a book haul in ages. However, I have been collecting oodles and oodles of books since January. In fact, I went to the Friends of the Library bookstore with my friends Helen and Shelley and never did share that book haul of us shopping together and then going to lunch afterwards. So I decided I am going to do a Friends of the Library book haul, and in the beginning, you're just going to see a little bit of footage of us shopping back in January, and then I will share all the wonderful books that I have picked up since then. I have picture books, some mysteries, some zombie books, as well as some regular fiction books. So please stay tuned and enjoy. Hey everybody! We are on our way to go book shopping at the Friends of the Library in Covington. And I'm here with my friend Helen. Helen wave.
Hi.
And Shelley.
Hi.
And we get to drive in her wonderful Jeep, so we're having a great time. After Friends of the Library, we're supposed to be going to eat at Bud's Broiler. It's a wonderful hamburger joint where you can get great hamburgers and chili cheese fries, my favorite. I think those are your favorite too, huh, Shelley?
Yes,
Mine
chili
too.
cheese.
Mine too.
So anyway, I'm hoping that I can get some video of the books that we're going to be looking at. So talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. I thought you weren't going to buy anything, Shelley.
I mean, we're in a bookstore. What did you expect? This is our book haul.
I wasn't gonna buy anything either.
You look like you've got cookbooks.
Yep, all cookbooks.
We're going to eat at her house. Dinner.
The 18th.
Hey, there we go.
The 18th. The three of us had so much fun book shopping. That was the first time Shelley and Helen had ever been at the Friends of the Library store. Unfortunately, we did not get to eat at Bud's Broiler because it was closed. And I say unfortunately, but then it ended up turning out to be really awesome because we checked out a restaurant that Shelley remembered eating at called Liz's Where You At. And it was a fantastic restaurant. I loved the food I got, and I even got my chili cheese fries. So we had a great time, and I'm so glad that we were able to hang out and I was able to get some books. Now it's time for me to share all of the books that I not only got in January, but I have been collecting each month that I have visited the Friends of the Library store. In fact, I just recently went on Friday and picked up a few things for Garb August that's just around the corner. So I want to go ahead and start with my picture books first because I collected quite a few of them. In my children's category, I ended up with 27 books. 21 of them were picture books, and they did not cost me but 25 cents each, and that is amazing for hardcover picture books. I have decided I'm not going to go into too much detail on all of the books, so I'll give a little bit of information here or there, but I don't want to take up so much time that I can't get through my entire book haul. The first book I wanted to show you is Rabbit Makes a Monkey of Lion by Verna Ardema, pictures by Jerry Pinkney. Jerry Pinkney is a wonderful illustration. Look how pretty that cover is. I just love picture books about animals, so I can't wait to read that one. The next one is Crickwing by Janelle Cannon. Janelle Cannon is a favorite of mine. I have the book Stella Luna, which is about a little bat, and I also have Verdi, which is about a snake. And this one looks like it's going to be fun as well. I love Janelle Cannon's art style. Next up is The Adventures of Tom Thumb, written by Mariana Mayer and pictures by Kay Craft. I thought that was kind of neat. There is a little bit of glare, sorry about that, but that's because it has the plastic over the cover. But what a fun story this is going to be. Then I have a book by James Stevenson called The Worst Person in the World at Crab Beach. I just thought this was going to be a lot of fun. And this one says, when the worst person in the world saw the ramshackle old hotel and learned that the weather was always cold and foggy, that there were lots of mosquitoes and jellyfish, and that the food was awful, he knew it was the place for him. But even the worst had not counted on meeting Miriam and her accordion-playing son, Cranston. So I just think that's going to be hilarious. You know, maybe he'll turn from a crabby person to a nice person. Next up is Sugully's Broom by Valerie Show-Carey and illustrated by Dirk Zimmer. I know I butchered that name. But this is a Polish story, and it says, despite the urgings of her well-meaning parents, a self-sufficient girl insists she'll never marry unless she meets a man who is as reliable as her broom. So we have a little independent woman there. This one is called The Waiting Place by Mark Sutherland. And a little boy is having trouble falling asleep, so imagines all these things coming into his room. I bought this for the illustrations. They are absolutely gorgeous. I just love them so much. It kind of reminds me of like Chris Van Allsburg, but look how pretty. The detail, so beautiful. Then this book that I picked up is called Wind Says Goodnight. It's by Katie Rydell. It's illustrated by David Jorgensen, and it reminded me of The Wind and the Willows. I just thought it had such a beautiful cover. And the story is a sweet one. It has to do with going to sleep. It says a child can't go to sleep until night wind sets events in motion affecting cloud, earth, moon, moth, frog, cricket, and mockingbird, and quiet comes to the night. So this is the second book I have that has to do with bedtime. The next one, called Lucy Dove, also has to do somewhat with bedtime. This one's by Janice Del Negro and illustrated by Leonid Gore, because there are stories told about this Boggle, which is like a monster that lives in this graveyard. And Lucy Dove decides that she is going to sew something to help rid the town of this monster, and so she goes to the cemetery and sews, and once she's done, she's going to try to outwit this Boggle or whatever. But it's got creepy little vibes to it, and it just seems like it's going to be a lot of fun. This would be perfect, I think, for like Halloween. Another holiday related book is one that has to do with Christmas. It's called Flight of the Reindeer. It's the true story of Santa Claus and his Christmas mission by Robert Sullivan, drawings by Glenn Wolfe. I do not have a whole lot of Christmas books, so I thought it would be nice to add this book to my collection. Now, many of you that have been following me for some time know that I hosted for the first time this year Folklore February, where we read folk tales, fairy tales, and fables. So I have been collecting books that have to do with folk tales and folklore all throughout the year, and that was no exception when it came to some picture books, because picture books are perfect to read for Folklore February. So the next group of books have to do with folk tales, and the first one is called The Dark Way, Stories from the Spirit World. This is by Virginia Hamilton, and it's illustrated by Lambert Davis. And these stories, folk tales and legends and myths, have to do with cultures all around the world and have supernatural elements to them. So I'm really excited about this one. Then I have The Lion's Whiskers, an Ethiopian folk tale by Nancy Rains Day and illustrated by Anne Griffalconi. Now, I do like, folk tales happen all over the world, so I do like the fact that I am able to find some from different parts of the world. This particular folk tale says it's from the Amhara people of Ethiopia. A patient woman uses her experience with a wild lion to win the love of her new stepson. Love the cover. Then I have another Ukrainian folktale that's adapted by Carol Kizmarek, illustrated by Charles Mykolaiak, and it's The Rumor of Pavel and Polly. I have another Ukrainian folktale, and that's The Mitten, which I absolutely love, but this one looks pretty cool as well. I have one from Gerald McDermott. He is the author of Anansi the Spider, which I thought I had a copy of that, but it might have been in my teaching picture books, and I had given a lot of those away to other teachers to use. But I found another one. This is a Japanese folk tale called The Stonecutter by Gerald McDermott. He has a very distinctive style. And then some of you have heard of stone soup, but have you heard of nail soup? This is a Swedish folk tale retold by Harv Zimak and illustrated by Margot Zimak. And my last folk tale is called, it's either Chansey or Chankay and the Secret of Fire. This is a Peruvian folk tale by Donald Charles. I love the artwork. Now, the rest of the stories that I have found in the picture book category are fairy tales. And another thing that I love are fairy tales that are told from different cultures. So the first one that I have loved for many years, but I never did have a copy in my personal collection, is Lan Po Po, a Red Riding Hood story from China. And this is by Ed Young. So pretty. This one also won the Caldecott Medal, which is the award they give for illustrators. I found a copy of The Pig Keeper by Hans Christian Andersen. I have never heard of The Pig Keeper. Then another story that I picked up, this is an original Brothers Grimm, but it's called The Water of Life. And this is retold by Barbara Rogaski and illustrated by Trina Shart Hyman. I had read a couple of fairy tales by these ladies when I did Folklore February. One of them was Rapunzel. Beautiful illustrations. This one, let's see if it gives me a little synopsis. This also is a German fairy tale. It says, a prince searching for the water of life to cure his dying father finds an enchanted castle, a lovely princess, and treachery from his older brothers. I also found The Talking Tree by Ina and Robert Rayavisky. Look at the tree. The tree has a woman for its trunk. Then another one is called Tatsinda. This is by Elizabeth Enright and illustrated by Katie Thamer Thurhern. This is a fairy tale. This one says, far, far away at the top of the world, in a peaceful mountain kingdom hidden in mist, a beautiful girl named Tatsinda lies tied outside a giant's den. Deeply in love with the handsome Prince Takatan and eager to win his heart, Tatsinda had woven magic into his birthday present. But in the middle of the celebration, before the packages were even open, an evil giant had thundered through the mist and carried Tatsinda away. And then last but not least is Aesop's tale, a fable called The Miller, His Son, and Their Donkey, pictures by Eugen Sopko. So I'm super excited about all of these picture books because some of them I will be reading during Folklore February next year. Next up are my middle grade and YA books that I picked up out of the children's room. And the first one is called Skellig by David Allman. This has a little bit of mystery to it because a family moves into a new home and then someone is discovered in the garage and they're not really sure, is it a ghost, is it a human, what's going on with, this being that they find there. Then this one reminds me of Wednesday Addams. It is called Emily the Strange. It's Dark Times, a novel, but it just gave me Wednesday Addams vibes. I thought it was pretty neat. It says on the back, Emily would rather go to school than A, eat lint, B, wear a full body cast, or C, skateboard blindfolded. And the answer is none of the above. And then I found a YA fairy tale retelling that actually has been turned into a major motion picture from the director of Twilight. This is called Red Riding Hood. There's an introduction by Catherine Hardwicke, but the author is Sarah Blakely Cartwright. So I just love the cover. It's so neat looking. And I'm going to have to check out the Netflix show as well, the series on that. But this would be perfect for Folklore February. I also found The Egypt Game by Zilpha Keatley Snyder, and this is a Newbery Honor book. And then finally, I found 2 Lois Duncan books in really great condition. Lois Duncan is YA, and she writes horror. If you've read I Know What You Did Last Summer or Down a Dark Hall, that's another one that she wrote. But I love Lois Duncan's writing. She also wrote Killing Mr. Griffin, which I think is fantastic. But the first one is Don't Look Behind You. Once you give up your life, you can't get it back. Wonderful cover. And then the other one is called The Third Eye. Karen's terrifying gift may save an innocent child. Just fantastic. So I look forward to when I'm going to be able to read one of these, possibly for like Old School April next year. But those are all the books that I got out of the children's room, and it cost me a total of $6.75 for all of those books, all 27 of them. So I did really well with that. The next group of books I want to talk about are like general fiction, and the first 2 have to do with fairy tales. Actually, I read the first one that's called Politically Correct Bedtime Stories, Modern Tales for Our Life and Times by James Finn Garner. This little book I read for the Garb August event back in February. Then there is a sequel to it called More Politically Correct Bedtime Stories, Once Upon a More Enlightened Time. This one also by James Finn Garner. So I will be reading that in the future as well, probably for the next Garb August in February, and also possibly Folklore February. I found another book called The Uninvited. This is by Kat Winters. It just gives me creepy vibes. I'm not really sure if it is horror, if it's, realistic fiction, or if it's historical fiction, but I love the cover, and this was a cover buy, strictly. This past Friday, I picked up Bridget Jones' Diary by Helen Fielding. I thought this might be good for Garb August in August. So it's not a very thick book, but I've seen the movie and liked the movie, so I figured this might be a good one to use for that. I found a copy of The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. This is going to be the last selection for the FOMO Book Club, so I was really excited that I was able to find a used copy at the Friends of the Library store. This cost me $1, so I couldn't beat that. In fact, the way it works, hardcover books in general fiction or even classics, anywhere other than the children's, hardcovers are $2 a piece. These oversized paperbacks are $1, and then the other paperbacks, if it's fiction, it's 25 cents. If it's nonfiction, it's 50 cents. So you can't beat those prices. I also picked up a horror novel by John Saul called The Right Hand of Evil. This one could also work for Garb August. I have not read a John Saul book yet, even though I do have a paperback copy that is in a tote somewhere in my house. I have tons of books all over the place that need to be put on bookshelves. I am a fan of Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child, especially the books that they write together concerning Agent Pendergast. I love that series so very much, but Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child also write books on their own as well, and I collect their books too. And one of the books that I picked up, it looks brand new. It's called Chrysalis. This is a thriller by Lincoln Child. And then I also found Utopia by Lincoln Child. So I'm excited about that. It looks like another thriller. And then my final two books is one that I have no idea anything about the author. This book is called City of Bohane. It's by Kevin Barry, but the story sounds interesting, and it has to do with Ireland and Celtic myths. It says 40 or so years in the future, the once great city of Bohane on the west coast of Ireland is on its knees, infested by vice and split along tribal lines. There are the posh parts of town, but it is the slums and back streets of Smoketown, the tower blocks of the North Rises, and the eerie bogs of the Big Nothing that the city really lives. For years it has all been under the control of Logan Hartnett, the dapper godfather of the Hartnett Fancy Gang. But there's trouble in the air, and they say Hartnett's old nemesis is back in town. His trusted henchmen are getting ambitious, and his missus wants him to give it all up and go straight. In 300 fiendish pages, City of Bohane combines Celtic myth and a Caribbean beat, fado and film, graphic novel cool, and all the ripe inheritance of Irish literature to create something hilarious, strange, beautiful, and startlingly new. So it intrigued me, so that's why I picked it up. And then finally, I picked up a Michael Crichton book that I do not have in my collection, and that is Disclosure, which they did make a movie about this many moons ago, and I believe Demi Moore is in it. Maybe Michael Douglas? I'm not 100% sure. I know Demi Moore is in it, and I saw it like a long time ago. But I'm looking forward to reading this one. I love Michael Crichton, and anytime I can get any of his hardcovers for good prices, I love to do that. Next up are the classics that I found, and the first one is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. This is a Barnes & Noble's edition. I also found a Penguin classic of Henry James's Daisy Miller. I love that portrait. I found another Barnes & Noble's edition of The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain. I have a paperback copy of this, so it was nice to be able to find a hardcover copy. Now this next one is also Barnes & Noble's edition, and I own the paperback of this, but to get it in hardcover was wonderful, especially for $2. And that is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. I love this book. I read this book only once, and that was back in the 10th grade. So I can't wait to read it as an adult and see if I still love it as much as I did when I read it back in high school. I also found Modern Critical Interpretations. This is edited and with an introduction by Harold Bloom, but this is essays, critical essays about Anna Karenina, and I was pretty excited to be able to get this book as well. I always find it interesting to read about others' thoughts about books in general, whether it is a classic like Anna Karenina or if it's about Stephen King's works. I just find it fascinating. And last but not least, I found a book called The Friendly Dickens by Norrie Epstein, and I just thought this was really cool. It is a guide basically to a lot of Charles Dickens' work, probably all of his work. But it says The Friendly Dickens includes an illuminating guide to all of Dickens' works and lively appreciations of characters both major and minor, interviews with aficionados from Patrick Stewart to biographer Phyllis Rose, eye-catching illustrations, copious quotations, a highly opinionated filmography, and informative sidebars on almost every page. Your friendly companion to the man who called himself the Inimitable will have you running in delight to dust off your Dickens. So I'm pretty excited about that because I have been collecting some Charles Dickens books, and I'm excited to get some backstory on it and also see what films were made and whatever else they have to say about it. But I just thought this would be a great book to have along with my Charles Dickens books in my library. I'm always excited when I can find some mysteries at the Friends of the Library store, and I have been on the lookout for some cozy mysteries because I would like to read some more of those as well as my Agatha Christie mysteries that I'm doing. But I found an author new to me called Leslie Meyer, and she writes Lucy Stone mysteries. Lucy Stone happens to be like a part-time reporter that lives in Tinker's Cove, Maine, and what I liked about this mystery series is the mysteries take place around the holidays. So I only have found 4 so far, so I'm gonna be on the lookout for the rest of them. And I'm not even really sure if you have to read them in order or if you can skip around when the holidays come around. That was my whole thinking is, you know, when it's Christmas, read one that happens around Christmas time. So the 4 that I found are St. Patrick's Day Murder. I think that cover is so cute. Mother's Day Murder. Father's Day Murder. We don't want to leave our dads out. And then the last one that I found is Star Spangled Murder, which I think takes place around 4th of July. But I just think they're going to be a lot of fun, so I'll be on the lookout for more of those to add to the collection. And then my big find, something I'm always super excited to find, is some more Agatha Christie. Now I have done a couple of videos on Agatha Christie this year because I am having a year of Christie. My first video is just my announcement video and explaining what my plans are for this year in 2023. And then I also show my Year of Christie jar where I'll pick out some names of Agatha Christie mysteries that were recommended to me. I also did another video just kind of revamping my Year of Christie because there were a couple of months that I was not reading any mysteries by her. And I also showed my Agatha Christie collection, books that I already owned and books that I have acquired since I started this year of Christie. But I'll link both of those videos in the description box below in case you want to check those out, and if you have any more suggestions for me if you are a fan of Agatha Christie. But I found 2 more books for my collection, and the first one is called Cat Among the Pigeons. This is a Poirot mystery, and then the second one is called The Mysterious Mr. Quinn. And it does not mention any of the detectives, so I'm believing this is a standalone mystery. But I am super excited that I got my hands on some more Agatha Christie books for my collection. Okay, friends, we are almost to the end. I want to share the pile of possibilities for Garb August that I picked up, as well as some zombie books that I have found throughout the year. So let's look at the Garb August possibilities. And the first one says, 6 everyday people suddenly confront death with the chilling realization that one of them is a murderer. And that is Diminishing Returns by E.L. Withers. Bum, bum, bum. Then we have a hilarious new novel called My Son the Doctor by Louise M. Hayward. This looks a little risque. Look at that outfit. Va 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 boom. Then the next one says, those queens of crime reenact Boston's most famous caper and set the cops, the mob, and one black super sleuth snapping at their high heels. This book is called On the Brink by Mercedes Enfield, and it is number 2 in the Miss Squad series. Trashy. And then I have one by H.E. Bates called A Breath of French Air, not fresh air, French air, and that is France was naughty before, but now that the Larkins have landed, ooh la la. Definitely stepping out of my comfort zone. Just look at that cover. And then last but not least, I found a Candlelight Ecstasy romance. This is by Rachel Ryan, and it's called Love Beyond Reason. Not sure what I'm thinking by picking up these books, but they are definitely out of my comfort zone, and they will definitely work for Garb August. So we shall see what I decide goes on my TBR for August. Now, let's get to the zombie books. You know how much I love zombies. So earlier this year, I held sprints, and I did share these 2 books. It's part of a series called Rot and Ruin by Jonathan Mayberry. He is the author of Patient Zero and Perfect Condition. Look how nice this is. It is a paperback, but that's the first one. And then I believe Dust and Decay is the second one. Not really sure how many books are in this series. I know that there are a few. So I'll be on the lookout for the other ones in that series. I also found the second book in the Feed series by Mira Grant, and that is called Deadline. So I'll be on the lookout for the rest in this series as well. I also found another survival guide called Surviving the Zombie Outbreak, the official zombie survival field manual. Now, of course, we know Max Brooks has the official zombie survival guide. But this book happens to be written by Gerald Kilpinski and Brian Gleisberg. So I think you can't go wrong by having several survival guides. There might be some additional tips in this one. I found another really one that I think is hilarious. I think it's going to be like tongue-in-cheek, but it's called The Zen of Zombie, Better Living Through the Undead by Scott Kennemore. Look at that cover. I think it's going to be hilarious. But it says, zombies aren't afraid of life, so why should you be? Start living your life the undead way through the Zen of Zombie. And then finally, I'm very excited about this because this is actually going to be a giveaway for a future Zombie-thon, or if I have another little zombie event that takes place throughout the year. You know, October is, I believe, zombie, It's like World Zombie Day, UK. So I might do a little something in October. And so I found a book that I already own, but I'm like, someone else that loves zombies should have an opportunity to get a copy of this fantastic book. It is called It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like Zombies, a book of zombie Christmas carols, and it has an introduction by the author Christopher Moore. But this lovely book was written by Michael P. Spradlin and illustrated by Jeff Weigel. And let me tell you something, I sang some of these zombie Christmas carols during Christmas Evil last December. It was a lot of fun. I love doing it. I love to sing, that's why. And let's sing about zombies and zombie Christmas. But anyway, this is going to go in my pile of giveaway books because, like I said, I know there's another zombie lover out there who would love to own a copy of this book. I knew that this was going to be a big book haul, but I just shared 60 books with y'all. 60 books that I purchased at the Friends of the Library store for some awesome prices, and they now get to be put on my shelves, and I now get to read them. So I'm very excited about that. But I also want to let you know that I have some other book hauls coming. I have a big, huge Scholastic book haul that I've been wanting to share with you, and I have tons of book mail to share as well. I really do appreciate you hanging out with me today. I appreciate your time. Thanks so much for supporting my channel and being just wonderful people. I really do get a happiness boost when you stop by. Leave me some comments below. Are there any books that I shared today that interest you? Until our paths cross again though, stay amazing and be adventurous.